On July 1st, 2011, young Kajil Mace, a student of Kingston College, had his life cut short by the bullet of a gunman, enraged because his spanking new sport utility vehicle was involved in an accident involving a taxi cab, the same cab in which young Mace was a passenger seated in the back of the car. Stated before, the accident took place on July 1st, 2011, and the beginning of last week, after 5 years and 3 months, the case finally came before the courts, and the shooter, alleged one Patrick Powell, went on trial for the murder of young Mace. Now, my discussion here today, my piece here today, really has nothing to do so much with Powell and the shooting. In my opinion, his guilt or innocence is the responsibility of the 12-member jury empaneled for that trial in the Home Circuit Court to decide. What I'm more concerned about is the fact that it has taken, first of all, 5 years and 3 months. And during that time, the parents of Mace has had to endure the pain, the grief, and the suffering caused by the untimely death of their child at the hands of some deranged shooter. At the same time, the alleged shooter has been allowed to enjoy all the freedoms of an average citizen who, and walking around, meeting and spending time with all of his friends and family, while the system continued for all this time to fail the family of the deceased. We have to insist that the state in our island, Jamaica, pays a lot more attention to the system of justice. Keep in mind that Jamaica has had a long history of criminal violence, particularly gun violence. And for a country of such a small size, a population of just under 3 million, we rank in the world as 5th or 6th, where as far as the death of our own citizens are concerned at the hands of other citizens. It is my view that a big part of the failure, or rather a big part of the responsibility for this heightened murder rate, is in fact the failure of our justice system. For the system as it currently stands continued to fail not only Mace but his family. Here is a man who, it is alleged, after having his vehicle hit by a taxi cab, he came out, pulled his licensed firearm, and fired volleys of gunshots into the car. The normal regulations as far as firearm holders are concerned is that if your firearm is involved in any kind of shooting incident, you are required to turn the firearm over to the police authorities to have a ballistic examination done. According to the evidence being the evidence gleaned from the trial so far, the alleged shooter, the accused, was advised by his attorney not to turn his firearm over to the authorities. At the same time, it does appear that the same authorities didn't take sufficient steps to capture the requisite information that was necessary to provide the kind of evidence that would certainly stand up in a court of law for such a heinous crime. Standard procedures would certainly involve the swabbing of the hands of the shooter for gunpowder residue, ensuring that the weapon used in the shooting is in the possession of the state authorities, and a proper ballistics check done to see if the gun in question was in fact that used in such an incident, because that is the one way that you tie the alleged shooter or the owner of that firearm to the incident itself. At the same time, one would expect that statements would have been collected by the police authorities, duly documented, properly recorded, so that you can make a case that the prosecutors would be able to take successfully through the court system. Now, I am by no means suggesting that the prosecutors will not be successful in bringing a prosecution in this particular matter. But on the strength of the information that we have gleaned so far, one wonders just where this whole exercise is going. It is, to my opinion, a failure of the system of justice. It opens the door for other Jamaicans who have had their own reasons for being aggrieved, especially if they have suffered at the hands of some other person, to not want to take these matters to the authorities, to the police, to conduct an investigation and to secure a prosecution and a conviction in a capital case such as this one. Because regardless of which direction we go, this trial is not so much a trial of Mr. Powell. It is a trial of our justice system. It is a trial that will either way expose the weaknesses or the strengths of not only our court system, but of our police investigative approaches, the methodologies that they're applying. And it also is a test, if you will, of why Jamaica not only has one of the highest murder rates in the world, but one of the lowest rates of criminal convictions in any court system anywhere in the world. We as Jamaicans have a responsibility to ensure that our government is held to books for its failures, for the paucity of resources that is clearly made available to our justice system, and at the same time lending itself to the very poor approaches of our investigators as far as addressing issues of this nature is concerned. Murder is, in any language, heinous. The untimely death of anyone is not something that one would want to have to deal with. And more importantly, no parent should ever have to bury their children. Worse, to have to deal with the lives of their children being snuffed out by some other person for some careless, unprovoked reason. It is my view that this particular trial is the justice system in Jamaica, a trial of that system, and whether or not we as a society can continue along those lines.